Hello and welcome to the Alpha Software Demo and Q&A webcast. I'm Dave McCormick, VP of Product Management here at Alpha Software. Today we are going to be revisiting Cloudflare hosting, something we talked about 6 months ago, but something I wanted to bring up again because it's a revisit because I need to give you the complete solution. And it's a cool one, so I think you'll enjoy it. The other thing that I want to point out is, of course, this is a Q&A session. If you want to send in questions, you can send them to guides, GUIDES @alphasoftware.com. You can also type them into the questions box of the GoToWebinar control panel. And if I'm able to answer them, like I know the answer, I will give it to you. And if not, we will save it for next time. Before I go any further, it seems like you can hear my voice, which is great, but can you see my mouse moving around on the screen? If you could let me know in the questions box, I just want to make sure my video is coming through. Wonderful. Thank you very much. All right, cool. So I'm not going to go into as much depth as I did last time with Cloudflare. I'm going to go again, this is going to be a refresher as to the who, what, why, and where of Cloudflare. And then I'm going to show you basically today's presentation will be how to get Cloudflare running as a service so that everything comes right back up after a Windows update or a power failure or something of that nature. And Cloudflare is great, and we're just going to go over that right now. So to begin with, Cloudflare, as you may know, is a content delivery network, and it can be used as a reverse proxy, which is what we're doing here. And what the advantages of that is, it means that you can run a Alpha Anywhere server on your home network or your office network securely, without opening up firewalls, without exposing your IP address, and in a way that actually prevents or lets you mitigate DDoS attacks and so on. So it's a really great thing to do. And it's the safest way probably to run your server is to use a reverse proxy. You can get an account at cloudflare.com. The setup that we used is actually free, although they do require a credit card just to, I guess, prove who you are, and also to make it easy to upgrade to other services should you want to. One of those services might be domain name hosting. They do offer that there as well. So let's take a quick look at hosting with a reverse proxy or hosting with Cloudflare. It's really one and the same in this case. What this allows you to do is it allows you on your home or home office network to have your Alpha Anywhere server running, and it allows people from outside your network to connect to it in a secure way because Cloudflare is there in the middle doing something called reverse proxy. What makes this work is that you have a secure piece of software that you can trust called Cloudflared with a D at the end that connects to the Cloudflare servers, to the Cloudflare cloud really. And it's your clients interact with the cloud then interacts with your computer using that piece of software. The advantage to doing this is it is fast. The requests come in and are routed to your computer with very, very little latency. Cloudflare is one of the fastest content network platforms out there, maybe the fastest. Another is free. Well, that's always good. The other one is it easier to set up than other types of reverse proxy situations, like the one that I think we have one actually up on our Learning Center, which uses AWS, where we set up things there. That's not only is that not free, it's also a little bit harder to set up than using Cloudflare. Also, these guys specialize in things like DDoS attacks and other kinds of attacks, so you can log in, get there. And also, they have metrics. AWS also has metrics, but they have really nice metrics that show you what's going on with your domain. So to set it up, what you needed was Windows 10, 11, and Alpha Anywhere. And you needed a domain name, which you can get anywhere. You can buy them at Cloudflare. You can get them at GoDaddy, Bluehost, wherever you get them. And you're going to need a credit card because Cloudflare requires that, even though they are not going to charge that credit card. So you started out, and again, I go really into the weeds in this presentation in October. So at the end, I'm going to paste a link to that if you want to see step by step how this is done in a little bit slower. But right now, I'm just going to kind of fly through this so we can get to the part that I want to show you today. Anyway, you would set up a free account at Cloudflare. It's called the Zero Trust Free Plan. Then when you are there, you are going to rename your, reassign your domain name servers to them. So that is set up here. And you can do that. I showed you how to do that in GoDaddy, but you can do it in any place that hosts your domain. Once that's been set up and some time has gone by, you'll log back into Cloudflare. It'll say, great, everything is set up. And then what you do is you build a tunnel, but you don't use the automatic system that they have here called add a tunnel. Instead, we went through another way to build it, which was really quite simple. First, we installed a piece of software called Cloudflare. I know I'm going really fast, but don't worry, this is step-by-step covered in another thing. We showed you how to get that in Cloudflare and what version you wanted to use. And then we opened up a command line, which we're running as an administrator. We're going to be doing that again today. And in that command line, we used Cloudflare login to have it actually create what we call a PEM file. This is a security certificate file. Then we needed to create the tunnel itself, which again, we did using a command line. And then that gave us this JSON configuration file. And we needed to then create a separate configuration file, a YAML file, and enter in some stuff in there, including actually the file name for the JSON file is the tunnel ID, and we had started using it there. All right, I know a lot of weeds. We're gonna keep going. Once that was set up and everything was good, at the very end, we ran a command that looked like this. And now you can start paying attention. Cloudflare tunnel run, and then this was the name of our tunnel. And sure enough, we opened up our application. We went right to our domain name in our browser and it opened up our application just as expected over at Alpha Test Drive. You can do that right now too. I believe I have it up and running. But don't get too distracted. We'll come back to that one. And again, everything was running and it was great. So here were the URLs that I included in my last presentation. I'm going to give you these two because they're still useful. And I'm going to put those into the chat window. The first one is, it looks like the first one is where you get the Cloudflare software. And the second one is directions on how to set up Cloudflare from a place called Make Use Of. I thought they did a great article on this, and that's what I based my presentation on. This next one shows you how to run it as a service. I found this to be confusing when I finally got around to doing it, so I'm not going to recommend this one. This last one here is a link to the video. I'm going to send that out to you. And that's the video that shows you how to set up everything in Cloudflare except for running it as a service. Woo! All right, so I think we got that preamble out of the way. How long did that take? 8 minutes. That's not too bad. Okay. So now the question is, how do we run Cloudflare as a service? And in fact, why do we even have to do that? Well, when you run Cloudflare, if you recall, you had to open up a window, a little DOS window, and enter in the name, that was not it actually, enter in the name of the tunnel that you want to run. And when that happens, you'll see some stuff, scroll by on the screen, and then it just kind of hangs out in a screen like this. When that's up, you are golden. You're able to connect to your application without any problems. The issue is, as soon as this window is closed, so is your tunnel, and people won't be able to get to your application. So imagine this, you have this up and running and it's great, and a Windows update takes place, say at 2 o'clock in the morning, the machine automatically reboots, the window is closed in the process, and now your server is offline. Well, that's no good. Fortunately, you can run Cloudflare as a service. I followed the directions that Cloudflare recommended. You may see them. I found them a little bit confusing. There was around 15 or 16 steps or something. I have another way of doing it, just using Windows Task Scheduler, which is working perfectly fine, and it's considerably easier. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So here is my command that I used to run my tunnel, Cloudflare tunnel run, and then the name of my tunnel. And what I did is I copied that and pasted it into a text file, which I called startcloudflare.bat. And if you run this text file, it will execute that command. It will also immediately close when it's done, which isn't any good, but I'll show you how to get around that. The point is, though, that we've created a batch file, and that batch file is something that we're going to run automatically. So once you've created that, just make a note as to where on your hard drive you have saved it. Because the next thing you're going to do is you're going to go into Task Scheduler, and we're going to set it up to run this as a service. Now, when I open up Task Scheduler, I tend to run this as an administrator because I don't always get all of the privileges I need if I do otherwise. So Task Scheduler is just a utility that's built into Windows, and you can get to it from its start menu. When it opens, you will see a tree view over here on the left. And what you're going to do is you're going to select Task Schedule Library, right-click on that, and you're going to say Create Task. Not Create Basic Task, Create Task. Okay. And then all you have to do is fill in some properties in the dialog box that appears. So here is the name of here's the properties window, and I've given it a name. I've called this Start Cloudflare. Probably should have called it Start Cloudflared because that's actually the software name, but won't get picky. So that's the name. Then for the option, I said run whether user is logged in or not, and run with highest privileges. That means when the machine reboots, even if I'm not there to log in, I want this software to be up and running. Next up was the triggers tab. The triggers tab didn't have to do much. You just have to say, when do you want the task to begin? And I selected from the dropdown at startup, which is what you want to do. And then just make sure everything here is enabled. The next thing you're going to do is the action. In other words, what is supposed to happen when you start up? You're going to run that Cloudflare batch file, which you just created. Now, as I mentioned before, when you run a batch file, as soon as it's done, it ends. And when it ends, it closes the tunnel. That's no good. But you can add an optional argument into a batch file, a /k argument, in which you give the file name of the full path, basically, of the program script. When you put in that /k, what it tells it is, after I run this, don't close it, leave it running. So it ends up running. You don't see the window actually on the screen, but it's there. It's hiding in the background. It's a process that's continuing to run. And then I think there's one more thing. Yes, under the settings section, you can say allow the task to be run on demand, which is great. In other words, you can go ahead and click on a button and run it. Run the task as soon as possible after a scheduled start is missed. So just in case it didn't start for some reason, go ahead and try again. And if it fails, try again up to 3 times. So those are my settings right here. And then when that's done, I'll see it here in my list of services. And when I click on the run button, chink, I find that it's up and running. So once I've clicked that run button, I'm fairly certain that I'd be okay after a reset. But of course, I did do a system reset to make sure that it did stay up and running. And so it took about, this was a computer with an SSD drive. Maybe it took 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes after a full restart, although I think maybe it was doing an update. But it didn't take very long, and it did come back up. So that is kind of what I wanted to cover today. There's something else though that I wanted to talk about briefly. So I know it was a little short presentation. But I wanted to talk about a course that we are doing next week with IADN. This course is probably not a good fit for most of you, but it might be a good fit for some of you. So I wanted to point it out, and it's this one here. It's called Make Money Building Apps. And it's actually not presented by us at Alpha Software. It's presented by IADN, the Independent Alpha Developers Network, who we featured on these webinars before. So we work with them in sort of an informal way, but they are in fact an independent agency. And they've put together a course showing you how they have collectively decades of experience making money building apps for clients. So they can cover things that, well, we're just not experts here at Alpha, like how to land a freelance gig or create portfolios and how to price projects and build in maintenance agreements and all those other things. What they find clients are willing to pay for, things like that. And then it will cover, of course, some Alpha Anywhere stuff as well, but it's not going to dive really deep into this. It's only a 90-minute course. So it's really aimed at the professional developer who wants to sort of branch out or expand their business. So the course is $49, and you can get it here at this link that I'm going to paste in. And that is basically just to defray the costs for having the IADN team put this together for us and do it for you. Let me put that in the box. That's the link. We've also sort of sweetened the deal. I'm doing hard selling here today. We also sweetened the deal by including a new two-user server license. This will allow you, this is better than the temporary developer license. This is an actual proper server license. It's a newish product for us. It has a value of $249. It's what we say. It's a 1-year license. But if you get this course for $49, you get the course and you get the license. So just wanted to let you know about that. Again, a lot of you probably will be like, oh, I know what I'm doing and I know how Alpha works and all that. So this may not be the course for you, but if it is, give it a go. Let's see, is there, someone says, oh, is the Alpha server's license IIS? No, it is not an IIS license. It is just a standard regular application server license. The advantage to using it is you could, you could set up like we did Cloudflare, and have other people access it. And so it's 2 concurrent users. When sessions expire, a new user can log in, and you can set that in the application properties section. All right, let's see. Are there any other questions here? It looks like there might be. Question. How do I integrate? Oh, this is a great one. I can't do it justice right now, but I will come back to this because I have done it. It says, I watched one of your old videos on setting up security. So my question is, how do I integrate security or the security framework into projects that have not yet had security? So that can actually still be done with the wizard. And basically, it's a process of setting up some security settings, setting up the pages, telling it which login pages you're going to go to, and then going through your project and marking the pages that need to be restricted so that no one accesses them, allowed if you have proper authorization, or always allowed. And once that's up and running, you're pretty much all set. But I would like to give a demonstration of how do I start from an app that didn't have security and add security to it. So I'm going to make that as a note. And of course, if you have specific questions, you can always send them into guides@alphasoftware.com. Okay, what else have we got? What's the benefits, of the Alpha Anywhere application server versus IIS? Well, the benefit of the Alpha Anywhere application server is that it is slightly easier to set up, the standard classic server. The benefit of the IIS server is that it gives you considerably more throughput. You can have more people processing requests at the same time. Part of that had to do with the fact that IIS was, by its nature, free threading and was able to spin up other instances of Alpha as needed, although we do have free threading now available in the classic server. I believe that has now come out. By the way, do check, today was a release. I probably should have mentioned that first. We do have a new official release of Alpha Anywhere available for you to download. Okay, next up. Can you post the course date in the chat? Oh, yeah, of course. I'm sorry. It is, this is the reason we're not meeting next Wednesday. It's going to be Wednesday, April 30th at 1 p.m. Eastern. Put that right in the chat as well. If you have questions, of course, just email us. Let's see what else we've got. How to call an XBasic function from JavaScript. That I might be able to do. So the question is, does build 9529.15 include free threading? I'm almost certain that it does in this version, but famous last words. So emails will check, but I'm pretty sure that that's the case. All right, let's pop into a little bit of alpha. Okay, I'm going to close down all my files here. We're going to go into workspaces. And let's do that. So the question is, how do I call XBasic from JavaScript? And you do that using an Ajax callback. Do I have an example already made? Probably. Well, just start a new one anyway. So I'm going to build a new UX, which is one of our building blocks for Alpha Anywhere, one that we typically use over the other components because it works well both on desktop and on web. And I'm going to, let's say, put in a piece of static text. And we'll just call this Ajax callback. All right, and then let's add a field, because maybe that's what our XBasic will do, is it'll hand back a piece of JavaScript. Let's do a nice round trip, because that's sort of how we typically do these things. So let me just put in a text box. And text box 1 is fine as a name. And then we're going to add a button. Let's go ahead and call this Ajax callback. And then we're going to add a button. Button. There's the button. Button. How about this? Let's say call XBasic script. All right. Now what we want to do is make this XBasic script do something. So when I double click on this button, I can add a new action. This is an action JavaScript action, and I'm going to go with Ajax. I'm going to say I'm going to perform an Ajax callback. So this will create the callback for me. And of course, I could use the same script. It doesn't have to be on a button. It could be on any kind of event that you want to set up. So however you're firing your JavaScript, you can do it that way. We're just happen to be doing it here with a button. So in this case, I can actually say a function name. I can specify an XBasic function, which I would have defined here. But for convenience, what I typically do is I create a new one, and then I use these hyperlinks down here to create the prototype for me and to set up the function declaration. So I'm going to call this set value. Actually, let's call it set text box. Okay. So I'm going to create the function prototype, and I'm just going to copy that to the clipboard. You'll see that in a second. And then open XBasic function declarations. I'm going to click on that, which is really just opening up the same thing that I have over here. So I'm going to right click and paste that. And so now I have an XBasic function. Let's just click OK. And OK again. And it's going to be call XBasic from JavaScript. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save that. And whoops, I said save. So right now, if I click this button, it's not really going to do anything. It's just going to call a function, my XBasic function, but my XBasic function doesn't, in fact, do anything. So let's make it do something. So here we are in XBasic. Let's scroll down. And here it gives you all kinds of really good, useful advice. So don't skip over this section. Like it'll tell you how to get the data that's been submitted on the form and other data, because you might want to work with that in your XBasic script. Mine is just going to be a dumb one. It'll just say like hello world or something. But you could do something like this. You can do e.setValue. This actually sets the value before, say, it's recorded into a database. But what we're going to do here is we're going to return again. Take a look at these because they're really good examples. Let's go back. Go to the very end. And here we're going to return And then we are going to put in some JavaScript. So let me give an example here. Let me pull one. No, I've got one right here. Let's make that full screen. There we go. Return. And then I'd want to do, oh, you know what I can do? Because I'm going to return a JavaScript command, which is going to be set value, whatever. And the way I like to write that, because I'm so terrible at JavaScript, is I'm actually going to go into, let's go ahead and save this. I know it's got an error in it, so I haven't returned anything. Let's go into controls. Let's go into the button. And let's pretend we were going to do this. Actually, let's add another button. Button 2. Close. Oh, got a couple buttons there. Don't want that. Let's remove that one. Let's edit this one. We're going to go into text mode, and we're going to use a component method. And the one we're going to use is called set value. Set value. And here I've got a little helper. That's what I like about doing it this way, is it helps me write the JavaScript. So I can just click on the control name, right click on the control name. Oh, text box 1, great. And then the value we're going to set it to is going to be hello world. So let's make sure my JavaScript is okay. And if it is okay, we're going to paste it into my XBasic function as a callback. All right, so we're going to go to working preview. Should press button 2. It says hello world, badly spelled. Okay, and I'm going to open this up and I'm going to grab that script. I'm going to copy that script. We're going to go into XBasic functions, and this was the function that we created before, and we're going to say return hello world. May as well fix the spelling. Maybe make it uppercase. So what this is going to do as an Ajax callback is it's going to return JavaScript that is going to be executed by the browser when it gets it back. The browser just happens to be this, but here I could have put in any XBasic command that I wanted to at all. Like I could have said, instead of hello world, I could have maybe set to a random number or something like that. But this is where you can do all of your XBasic, right? So we're going to go back into controls. Actually, we'll go right into working preview, and this should be working at this point. And I'm going to click on my JavaScript, and sure enough, it did the hello world as it was supposed to. So basically, if you want to call JavaScript, if you want to call XBasic, you need to do it using an Ajax callback. An example of an Ajax callback is shown here, where I've done it using action JavaScript to create that Ajax callback. When I set up the Ajax callback, that's where I put in my function name. Didn't have to use that function. If I already had a function defined, I could have used that function instead. But if I'm starting from scratch, you can enter in a new name, create the function prototype, and then open function declarations, which is really just this section here, and paste that in. So I hope I haven't gone too quickly on that. If you do have questions, do go ahead and send in to guides. Someone just said, yeah, and you can convert the action JavaScript to JavaScript. Yes, I know. I can absolutely. That's true. I can do it that way. You can always do that, as a matter of fact. You see this Ajax callback? Show me what the JavaScript is for performing that Ajax callback. I'm going to say view JavaScript, and there it is. That is the command, dialog Ajax callback. And those are all the values that were set for you. So if you want to do it the harder way or have more control, you could absolutely edit that JavaScript yourself directly. All right. That looks like it. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me. We, again, will be having a special course next week, so our regular Alpha Software demo and Q&A webcast isn't meeting then, but we will be, we will be back the following week. Until then, take care. Stay well. Thanks very much for joining. Bye-bye.